Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. For those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Justin and I go by Coach Commerce here on YouTube. And I make videos all about how to get better at selling on eBay. And in today's video, I'm gonna be sharing with you 20 surprising items that you can sell on eBay for big profits. Now, when I say surprising, these could be items that maybe you've never heard of before or didn't know about. Or maybe if you did know about these items, you probably weren't aware that you could actually sell them on eBay. And I can say that these items sell well because I have sold these items before. I've sold over 50,000 items in my 13 years on eBay, so I know that these are proven winners, that if you either have them or if you're able to find them, you can then turn around and resell them for big profits on eBay. So let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, item number one, this item is an item you may actually already have and not even know that it's valuable or worth a lot of money, and that is vintage food packaging. Now, when I say vintage food packaging, what I mean are any types of food products that you can no longer find in a grocery store. And it doesn't have to be something that was sold like a long time ago. It can even be something recent that, you know, a manufacturer made like a limited edition run of a food product that's no longer sold. For example, right now, Post Malone has a line of Oreos out, and that's only a limited production run. When those end, people will still want them for their collections, or maybe they'll even still want them to eat if they like that particular flavor of food, and they'll go to eBay to find those products. And when they do, if you're one of the few people that have it and they can no longer find it in a grocery store, those people are willing to pay up a high price for those items. And for me personally, I found items before in the past that I've sold for hundreds of dollars that originally only cost me like $1 or $2. For example, back in the 1990s, there was a mint called Altoids that was made. I think they might still make it now, but they actually had a different flavor back in the 90s that they no longer make anymore. It was like a citrus, like orange citrus mint flavor. And I was able to find that one time and I sold it for $200. So the key takeaway is it doesn't even have to have the food product in it. Obviously, if it's expired or long expired, people probably aren't going to be eating that or consuming it anyways, but they want the packaging because they collect it. And eBay is definitely the marketplace for collectors. So if you have a vintage food item that you may not value yourself, somebody else might. All right, moving on to the next item, and this is one that you may have as well, and you might not be aware that it's worth some good money. And that is old vintage yearbooks. Now, yearbooks sell well on eBay because obviously you can't, buy them anywhere. So people go to eBay to look for them, but you can normally find these in places like estate sales, flea markets, yard sales, even thrift stores. I found old vintage yearbooks everywhere and they can sell for a lot of money. Now, on average, a typical yearbook will sell for, maybe $20 to $30. But there are yearbooks out there that will sell for hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars. And the ones you want to look for are yearbooks that have celebrities in them. For example, one time I was at a flea market and I found a yearbook of a local college where I lived in Florida that featured Mr. Rogers. He was a character in a children's TV show when I was a kid. I bought it for like $5, took it home, and then put it on eBay, and it sold for $150 like right away. So if you're somebody that went to school with somebody who became a celebrity, your yearbook could be worth a small fortune. Other yearbooks that you might want to look out for are really, really old yearbooks. People that do genealogy or historical collecting, they'll go to eBay to find yearbooks that are from like the early 1900s or before, and they'll pay a lot of money for those as well. In addition, military yearbooks like the Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, all of those branches of the military will make yearbooks for different classes of soldiers that come through things like boot camp or some type of training. They'll make a yearbook for them. And if you find those can be worth hundreds of dollars as well. So don't overlook yearbooks. Just because it's something that you may not be interested in doesn't mean it isn't to somebody else. Next item up is an item that I have made thousands of dollars selling on eBay, and you may even have this and don't know that you can sell it on eBay. And that is vintage perfume. Now, vintage perfume can be sold completely full, half empty like this one right here, or even completely empty. But people go to eBay to buy perfume that they either want to use for themselves that they can't find anymore. For example, like a product that is discontinued. Or there are even people that collect fancy and ornate perfume bottles. Even if they're empty, people will go on eBay and buy them because they want to add them to their collection or put them on display. Now, before I go any further, I know people down in the comments are going to tell me that you cannot sell used perfume on eBay, and that is a very false misconception. You can sell these, but you have to make sure they are in the right category on eBay. You have to list these in the perfume collectibles category. You cannot go on eBay and put them in just like the regular perfume category. The reason being is the FDA monitors perfume sales, and anything that is not considered new in the regular perfume category will get pulled down. So basically, just make sure that you list it as a collectible perfume, and you should be fine. I've never had one pulled down or taken down, and I always sell them. But yeah, guys, it's not uncommon for these to sell for hundreds, if not even thousands of dollars if you find the right perfume that people can't find anywhere but eBay. Okay, so this next category that I'm going to share with you is probably my favorite category on the list, and that is because it is so weird, so untypical, and that is creepy or scary dolls, like baby dolls. Now, if you jump on eBay and do a quick search for scary dolls, what I promise you'll find is a category that's not overly saturated. There's probably only a few hundred listings, but it's got a very devoted following, and these sell for a lot of money. What people will do is they'll take a regular baby doll and they'll then modify it or even paint its face to make it look scary or creepy like it's in a horror movie. And then they'll put it up on eBay and collectors will come and buy them, and they'll pay, like I said, a few $100s for each of these baby dolls. So if you're talented or artistic and you have a knack for things like that, give it a try. You can find a baby doll at a thrift store for $1 or $2. Paint it, put some creepy looking clothes on it, and then you can turn that into a hefty profit. But if you're not artistic, there is still opportunity for selling creepy dolls, and that is by selling haunted or possessed dolls. Now, I know some of you that are out there watching this video don't believe in the paranormal or in hauntings or possessions, but I promise you there are people that do, and they do go to eBay to buy haunted items, specifically haunted baby dolls. And while I personally don't believe in that stuff either, I can tell you that I was at a yard sale one time where there was a lady that was a fortune teller that sold me a baby doll for $5. She told me it was haunted. I threw it up on eBay, and then I sold that in a matter of a few days for $150. So there is definitely opportunity out there if you're willing to mess around in the creepy, haunted, or even paranormal. Okay, the next category that I have for you is vintage or ornate picture frames. And these are a dime a dozen at thrift stores. If you go into any thrift store, you'll see picture frames everywhere, but what you want to look for are picture frames that are really fancy, really ornate, that you can then buy and then put on eBay. Home interior decorators will come looking for these and they'll buy them to decorate their house. And oftentimes you can find these very easily in a thrift store if there is artwork inside the picture frame that's really ugly or doesn't look very good with the picture frame. People aren't going to buy the art, but they're overlooking the picture frame. So if you buy the whole thing, take the picture out, put the picture frame on eBay, you can make a lot of money doing that. Moving on to the next surprising item that sells for a lot of money on eBay, and that is vintage car parts. Now, vintage car parts, you can list them as new or even used. It doesn't really matter. People are gonna go to eBay to look for a part that they can't find for their car in a normal auto parts store. Most auto parts stores only carry parts for vehicles that are currently being manufactured because those parts move quickly from their inventory and they don't really want to mess around with vintage car parts. But if you're willing to do that, people basically only go to eBay to find those parts for their cars that they're either restoring or trying to repair or fix. And the great thing about car parts is even if you don't know a lot about car parts, if you look at the part, almost every single time there is a part number stamped somewhere on the part. And that number, if you put it into eBay, it'll pull up exactly what it is that you're looking at. So you don't have to have specific knowledge about car parts. All you have to do is be able to find that part number on the part itself. But yeah, don't overlook car parts because I sell them all the time. I've literally made tens of thousands of dollars on eBay just in this one category alone. Here's another really cool category that can make you a lot of money if you sell these on eBay, and that is ballpoint and fountain writing pens. Now, business executives and professionals will pay a lot of money for these because it's a status symbol that can sit on their desk, and people also collect them. But brands that you want to look out for are brands like Parker, Montblanc, Viscotti, Cartier, high-end name brands like that you want to look for. And if you don't know how to find those, what you're wanting to look for when you're looking for high-end pens in places like thrift stores are pins that are made of good quality materials like metal, fine grain, wood. If you see a pin that's plastic like this, it's cheap. But just like anything else, you're looking for quality. If you find an item that has high quality, chances are it probably has a brand on it. Do a quick eBay search, and if it's a good brand, you can make a lot of money selling them on eBay. The next item or next category that you want to be aware of, and I see these all the time, are industrial lighting fixtures. Now, what I'm talking about are products like this. This is an LED light fixture that hangs up in an industrial setting. I found this at a Habitat Restore, and I paid $10 for it, and this sells brand new in the box like this one right here for $250 on eBay. Lighting fixtures are not uncommon, but they are typically a little bit bigger in size. So if you're willing to take the time to try to figure out how to ship them and package them to where they won't break, you can make hundreds and even thousands of dollars selling industrial lighting fixtures on eBay. They can be brand new LED ones like this, or even better, the old vintage fixtures, the incandescent lights that have like a really cool look to them. Home interior decorators will once again look for those to decorate with their project, and they're looking for a specific look that they can only find on eBay, and maybe you're the seller that has it. Okay, so this next category is a little weird, but I promise you that if you find one of these, it can make you a small fortune, and that is a medical prosthetic, like a fake arm or leg for an amputee person. If you find those like a thrift store or a garage sale, you can take them and flip them for a ton of money on eBay. Now you might be wondering, why would you be able to find that? Wouldn't the person that has that originally really need that or depend on having that device so they have mobility? And yes, they do. But what a lot of people don't realize is that normally somebody that is an amputee every few years or so will get a benefit with their insurance to where they can get a new prosthetic limb. And oftentimes they'll take that limb and they'll donate it to charity or to a charity shop like a thrift store for, that store to resell. And if you're a reseller that goes and finds that and buys it, you can flip it for a lot of money on eBay to somebody that is in need of that product. And I know already people that are watching this video are gonna say that is morally wrong for you to go and buy that for somebody that needs it and charge people a lot more. But what you may not realize is the odds of somebody coming into a thrift store that needs that exact appendage is probably pretty rare to none. Whereas you're doing a service for somebody else that is on eBay looking for that exact item, you're meeting that need of that person, getting it to them. And oftentimes if they don't have insurance and they've got to buy that item from a medical provider, buying it on eBay is actually a lot cheaper for that person. So you're actually doing a lot of good for people that need those items. And real quick, before I move on to the next category, one other medical prosthetic that you do not want to overlook are mastectomy prosthetics. Those are like the inserts that go into a woman's bra that's had like breast cancer surgery. You can find those at thrift stores as well for the same reasons. And oftentimes they'll be pretty cheap, like $5 to $10, and you can sell those for like $50 to $100 all day, every day on eBay. So moving on to the next category, and this is another category that is very often overlooked on eBay because people do have very strong moral convictions about this particular subject, and that is animal taxidermy. Now, I would never advocate or recommend for anybody to specifically go and hunt for animals to then taxidermy and then sell on eBay for profit. That does seem morally wrong. What I am saying is if you are out at like a thrift store or a garage sale or any type of reselling market and you find an animal that has already been taxidermied, in my opinion, buying that to then flip it and resell it is actually very moral because you're selling it to somebody that wants to decorate with that type of item that maybe would have gone out and hunted that animal down to do that anyways. So in essence, in my opinion, you're actually saving animals by recycling or reusing animals that have already been taxidermied. But if you're willing to give this category a try, I promise there is a ton of money that is able to be made. Personally, I like to sell taxidermied fish because they're a little bit smaller and easier to ship. But if you're willing to put in the work in shipping large taxidermy mounts like deer heads or even elk heads, you can make thousands of dollars selling those mounts on eBay. This next category is a category that a lot of men like myself don't really think of or often overlook, and that is vintage kitchen appliances. Really, any vintage kitchen appliance that's in working order can sell well on eBay, But one specific type of kitchen appliance that sells for a lot of money on eBay is vintage mixers. Brands like KitchenAid sell really well. Even if you aren't selling the entire appliance, one thing I like to do is I'll take an appliance that has a lot of parts on it, and I'll just take it and strip the parts off of it and sell the individual parts because they're a lot smaller and a lot lighter and easier to ship. And anybody that has a broken appliance is going to, of course, go to eBay to find that part that they need for their kitchen appliance. So yeah, kitchen appliances are often a category that's kind of overlooked. A lot of people don't really think about it, which opens up a lot of opportunity for resellers on eBay. Okay, moving on to another category that you can make a lot of money selling on eBay that a lot of people overlook is boxed TV series in like the DVD set format. Now I know nowadays everybody streams everything right to their TV, but what you may not realize is there are still a lot of people out there that have DVD players and like to watch their media on DVDs for whatever reason, or they have a particular fondness for a specific TV show that they can't find on their streaming service, and they'll go to eBay to buy that TV show. And the secret here to make a lot of money selling this type of media is to look for DVD box sets that are either out of print or no longer made. So if you're at a thrift store and you're looking for, boxed DVD sets to resell, what you want to stay away from are like, mainstream big known TV shows. You want to look for the more obscure or smaller TV shows that maybe you've never heard of before or that you're not familiar with. Those are the ones that are now out of print that are hard to find and people go to eBay to look for. And if you find those, you can put a premium price tag on them and sell them for a lot of money. Now, since we're on the topic of electronics, another type of product that you want to look out for is high-end networking gear or Wi-Fi routers. Now, there are some types of Wi-Fi routers that are not common household names. These are not brands that you could go to like Best Buy and find. They're more specialty, but they are out there. And these brands are brands like Oro, Erie, and Deco. If you find those brands of Wi-Fi routers, especially the newer models, they can sell for well over $1,000. Now, even mid-level Wi-Fi routers that sell for like $200 to $300, you can find in thrift stores pretty routinely for like $20 to $30. And most people don't realize that they're that expensive or they're that valuable because they already have a Wi-Fi router or they're just not familiar with technology. So if you take the time to learn that technology, you can turn that knowledge into cash. Another fun eBay category that can make you a lot of money is handmade wooden items. These are items like carvings, bowls, decorative pieces, basically any type of handmade wooden piece that somebody would want to decorate with. You can put it on eBay and you can sell it. And you can find these all of the time in thrift stores, garage sales, antique malls, anywhere where people are reselling things. You can find handmade wooden items. And people like these unique, one-of-a-kind items because they're not mass-produced. You can't go to Hobby Lobby and find the same exact type of item. So it's a really great statement piece for people to decorate their house with. An example of this would be like this little handmade troll guy that I found the other day in a thrift store. I think I paid like $3 for him. And I'm putting it up on eBay for $75. I've sold these in the past or ones like it in the past, and they normally do pretty well. And even though I probably wouldn't personally decorate with this guy, I think he's kind of weird, somebody out there is going to fall in love with him. So the rule that I like to follow when I'm looking for handmade, unique, original items is the more obscure, the more original, or the more, eye-popping the item is, the better odds you have of making good money on it on eBay. Moving on to the next category, this is a category that is still somewhat new to me. I don't have a lot of experience selling this item, but it's definitely an item that I learned about recently that I'm going to look out for because they can sell for a ton of money, and that is Native American artifacts. Now, before I go any further, I want to stress that I'm not encouraging anybody to go out and dig up Indian burial grounds or to disturb any sacred Indian areas. Do not do that. In fact, you can actually get criminally charged with that in some areas, actually probably in most areas or most states. There are people that will do that, and that's not what I'm saying you should do. What I'm telling you to do, or what I'm trying to encourage you to do, is to go to places like if you're out at a flea market and you see somebody that has a booth with arrowheads, if they're selling them and you know what ones to look for and you can get them cheap enough, these will sell for hundreds, even thousands of dollars on eBay. And if you don't believe me, go to eBay and look at all of the solds for all of the Native American artifacts and arrowheads, and it will blow your mind. Literally, like this one right here that I'm looking at on my computer sold for almost $5,000 for a rock that was carved by a Native American. Now, just like any other product on eBay, I'm sure having knowledge or expertise in this particular field can go a long way. The more you specialize, probably the better you get at it and the more you can command for selling these specific items. So if this is something that interests you, I would encourage you to dive in, really educate yourself, and I'm sure you'll probably make a lot of money on eBay if you dabble into this category. Okay, moving on, this next category, a lot of people probably are familiar with and know that products in this category can sell for a lot of money, but this specific category, people maybe overlook. And that is musical instruments, but specifically harmonicas. Now, the reason why I say people overlook harmonicas is most people, when they think of a harmonica, think of it as like a child's toy because that's kind of how they were originally marketed. But high-end musicians that play this instrument will pay a lot of money for the right brands and the right models. Two brands that you want to look out for that can sell for a lot of money are Hohner and Suzuki. Their higher end models can sell for upwards of $500 to $1,000. And if the idea of buying something used that somebody has put their mouth on kind of weirds you out, I don't blame you, but please do understand that there are ways that you can clean these instruments, and the people that play them probably are familiar with how to do that. So they're not going to be bothered by getting a deal on a high-end harmonica that has been gently or lightly used. All right, so this next item category is surprising because a lot of times when people think about it, they think that it's antiquated technology and that it's not very valuable. In fact, many people probably associate this particular product with like their grandma or their grandmother, and that is antique or vintage music boxes. Now, the music boxes that I'm talking about are the ones that would like sit on top of a nightstand that would have like a little crank on the side where you wind it up, you open the top, and then there's like a little ballerina or like a little bird or something inside of it that when it begins to play the music, it'll either like spin around or dance. It's a mechanical toy that kind of has like a decorative function. Now, these music boxes are highly collectible to a small niche, or is it niche or niche of people that collect these particular items. And they always go to eBay to find them because nowadays you cannot find these particular types of products in most stores. It's kind of an item that was forgotten about in the past. But if we pull up a record of eBay's sold history for music boxes that have sold in the last 90 days, really quickly you can get an idea that these sell for a lot of money. In fact, they have a potential to sell for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 or more. So yeah, there is a ton of opportunity for selling antique or vintage music boxes. And while I realize that these are probably more of a rare item type that are not as easily found in places like a thrift store or a garage sale or an estate sale, if you keep an open mind and are always kind of on the lookout for them, chances are eventually you'll come across one that you can sell for a good amount of money. Another strange category that can make you a lot of money on eBay is antique medical equipment. Now, when it comes to medical equipment, you want to be careful that what you're listing is older, vintage, or antique medical equipment. Newer medical equipment, especially stuff that requires a prescription, can get you a Vero on eBay, and that listing will get pulled down because eBay does not allow anything that requires a prescription to be sold on eBay. But if you're selling stuff that's really old, that's kind of out of practice or not even in use anymore, you can make a lot of money selling that stuff. And the reason being is people collect medical equipment. As strange as that sounds, doctors especially like to acquire things that maybe are historical or related to the medical profession. And in addition, people will decorate with it, believe it or not. And when it comes to medical equipment, really what you're wanting to look for is the stranger, the better. Anything that is an oddity or anything that is considered what's called quack medical equipment does really well. You're wanting to look for things that have maybe like a steampunk look or like a gothic look. That stuff can sell for a lot of money. Things like medical straitjackets, things like, doctor equipment, like they would carry like an old doctor or medical bag. things like vintage tools and different devices. Really anything that looks real strange or really old. If you find that, you've got a really good chance to make a lot of money selling it on eBay. So this next category I really love because it's a personal hobby of mine, but that is collecting old or vintage, even antique fishing lures. Now, if you're not familiar with this hobby, people that are into the sport of fishing spend a lot of money on the hobby. And in particular, people that collect old, antique, or vintage fishing lures will spend a small fortune on the lure that they want to round out their collection. And oftentimes, old fishing lures can be found in tackle boxes at places like estate sales or even yard sales. The people that have them, that are trying to sell them, oftentimes will undervalue what they have, selling it for a few dollars when individual lures can sell for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Now, the things that you want to look for are lures that look like they're older, particularly lures that are made out of wood and not plastic. You want to look for lures that are in good condition, and if you can find them in the new old stock packaging, you may have just struck gold, because those are the lures that people are putting on display in their collection, and they're willing to pay a premium if they have the packaging with them. So if you're the type of person that thought there wasn't a lot of money in fishing related items, think again. All right, we've made it to the final item on my list of 20 surprising things that can sell for a lot of money on eBay, and I saved one of the best for last. Now, this item a lot of people look over, but they really shouldn't, because it can be worth a ton of money. And that is outdated software equipment. Now, when I say outdated software, what I mean are like things like CDs and discs that are no longer made or manufactured anymore. And these types of items, you even can't jump onto your computer and find online. Most people nowadays will jump on their computer and download software or drivers for any type of device that they need. But the fact is, there is a lot of electronics that are still being used today that the drivers and software are not on the internet. So the only way that you can get them is to purchase the software on eBay. Now, the really valuable software that you want to look out for are things for like heavy machinery, data processing equipment, manufacturing equipment, automation equipment, all of those big machines that run on computers that use software. If you can find that type of stuff, it can be worth a fortune. And just like everything else that I've talked about in this video, the more obscure the software is, the more rare that it is, the more money you're going to make. Especially if you're one of the only few people in the world, or the only person in the world that has the software for this type of machinery, you can basically set whatever price you want. And it really isn't uncommon for computer software that's rare to sell for thousands upon thousands of dollars. So when you're outsourcing for items to sell on eBay, do not overlook outdated or vintage or obsolete computer software. All right, so we've reached the end of this video, and I hope that you guys learned something new and make a ton of money selling this stuff on eBay. If you haven't done so already, like this video, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. If you're not subscribed and you do, hit that notification bell also, and when you do that, you'll be notified anytime I upload a new video like this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, my name is Justin, aka Coach Commerce, and I can't wait to catch you guys on the next video. Bye.